Good afternoon and welcome, Dr. Maria, to this conversation on this award that you've got for philanthropy given by FAPIO, Florida Association of Physicians of Indian Origin. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit what this award was about?
Well, again, it's been given by FAPI, and this is physicians of Indian origin that were gathered together, and we had sort of a celebration of all the things that we've done and collectively have done for the communities, for our philanthropic work. We have been pulling together things through our Auroveda Foundation, which is a collaborative work between India and America. We are based in Florida, in Hernando County, and also in India, Chandigarh, and other places as well throughout. So we have been trying to support the families, the women, empowering women, children, upskilling, giving funds for food and clothing here and there, enhancing the well-being of these people, both in India and in here in the Americas, in Florida mainly, but we'd like to be able to extend that beyond.
Well, that's wonderful. In fact, we were looking at your podcast over there, Wholly Health-Wise, and I've attended all of them since I've come here.
Mm-hmm.
And don't you think that as a doctor, as a healer, you're already oriented to contributing to society, and these podcasts are completely free and they're very informative. So I wanted to actually take you back to, your formative years, what made you join this profession. And I'm just reminded of the word philanthropy. I know you're into word origins. It's a Greek word which simply means, someone who really loves humanity. Anthropos is humanity. The word, philan means someone who loves. And the Latin equivalent, charity or caritas, also means
Correct.
the same thing, to have this caring, this feeling of caring for others. And when I think about the Hippocratic Oath, right going back to, Greek times and then their modifications over the years, in a sense, it's a commitment, it's an ethical commitment to serve others through your great skill and responsibility in the healing arts and sciences. So can you tell us a little bit more about how you became a doctor and what your approach to healing itself is?
Yeah, that's a long story. How could I really consolidate it in a few lines? Um, Again, an outgrowth of my earliest beginnings, which are with a disability. My mother's disability was actually the inspiration for me to carry on to help take care of this kind, and then to go beyond this kind, which was a woman who could barely walk. I was a very young individual, and I felt like I was in a role reversal. I was taking care of her. But I had been around the medical profession for time after time, having to go to appointments with her, having to, hear all these different things that she was going through and all her needs. And then I just, from there, I realized, I could be a help here. And it was not until probably my teenage years, my adolescent teenage years, that I felt there was something else that needed to be done. So it wasn't quite at such a young age when things started that I was able to put it all together and figure, there's a lot more that could be done here. And I was just not, I was not happy. I realized I was not happy with what conventional medicine was doing for this ailing mother. My mother was not well. And I explain it in my book, Be Consciously Healthy,
Yes.
a little bit about, my background, a
Yes.
little autobiographical. And it was really through the so-called mess-ups, the inadequacies, the deficiencies, not being able to see my mother come to better health. It was really disappointing. It was hurting me, and it was hurting her. And so I knew sometime in my teenage years that something needed to change. And from then on, I just started to change a lot of things in my life because I didn't want to have what she had, which was multiple sclerosis,
Oh,
a devastating neurological condition,
yes.
which has a spectrum of manifestations. There are those who have it to a lesser degree, and my mother was progressive, and she was just kind of getting worse. And they really had nothing much to offer, just conventional treatments, which were drugs that didn't do her any good back in that day. And so anyhow, I had been looking in other directions, and by the time I was, 20 or so, 19, 20 years old, out of high school, going into college, and I said, I need to do something. And I knew I wanted to become a physician, and I wanted to become a physician who knew more than just drugs, more than just the stuff that wasn't really working. And, that was coming to me at that time of my life, which is not usual probably for the average person to start thinking, I don't like what conventional medicine's doing. I think I'm going to do something else about that time of their life. It usually comes later.
Yes.
People start to, they go through, whether it's the studies, and then they finally realize maybe in their 30s, 40s, or later that, what, I need to do something more than this. So for me, it was coming out early, and then I started to look in various directions of in the alternative world, in the non-conventional, so to speak, world, to see what else was going on. And it brought me to so many different avenues. I was going down this avenue, and different methodologies for bringing one back to health. And I said, this was nothing that I knew about. My mother didn't know about it, and I'm glad I went down those avenues, which then kind of merged together into one, and which now is like integrative.
Exactly. I was just leading up to Welcome Home, but I guess the thing we can underscore from, what you just told us is that, in every doctor's life or in every doctor's career, there's already that impulse to help and heal, which is a part of the profession. But oftentimes the doctor is content with not just the conventional, methods and mechanisms of healing, but also, all the perks and benefits that come from following that path.
Yeah.
But in your case, you broke, that mold, and then you began to read and learn and study and explore. And the outcome of that is this wonderful center, Welcome Home, the Integral Healing and Education Center, which to me symbolizes or embodies what you stand for. And I think that is in my view, the best manifestation of this impulse. We may call it the philanthropic impulse, the healing impulse, the charitable impulse, or whatever. So can you tell us a little more about how Welcome Home brings together these both, science and art and your passion as well as your profession into something really beautiful and very different from what we see when we think about a medical practice?
Absolutely. This was, again, a brain growth, a flower that came out of my brain. And I knew that in a conventional practice, which was something that I started, my husband and I were partners in the development of a conventional practice, but I knew that I was going to go beyond the convention. And I was already in the, again, conventional office. I was using my knowledge in alternative medicine, so to speak, and I began that whole process in the conventional office. But then I realized as I was growing, and then I was giving talks to the public, and using my office lobby space to give these talks. And it was growing, and more people were interested in knowing more about the non-conventional, the alternative, the natural way of approaching one's health and so forth, and disease. And I knew I had to go somewhere else. And so that's where I took a piece of land that we had purchased, and I said, okay, this is where it's going to be. And so we started the building process. We began somewhere in 2017. That was several years after we had started the Access office, and I knew that I was going to need a space where I could really be working with people, hands-on, hands-off, spiritual work, able to administer different things that were not in a conventional way, which would entail everything from energy and, hands-on, hands-off, Reiki type things. I wanted people to have massage therapy,
yoga,
yoga.
food.
Yeah, so we had all these different things that in mind, and I brought together other people who were like-minded. I tapped on to those alternative or different practitioners from different skilled sets, whether it's an acupuncturist or a wellness coach or someone who knew how to do Reiki, someone who was into herbal medicine. I pulled them together, and we joined and kind of planned it.
Yes.
And then it literally got off the ground. We built the center and put various buildings in place that would do different things. One place would be movement, include yoga, but other things as well.
Dance and other movements.
Other artistic movements, right. And meditation and sound therapy and so forth. And having an auditorium where I call it our auditorium.
Yes.
And a place where we can, give talks, to do demonstrations, to have larger audiences rather than the little lobby that I was doing my talks in at the other center, at the other office. I'd have a larger space to have more people and to be in the space that we are, open with glass. And to see the grounds at the Ohm Center is really to see something spectacular. I mean, it's really beautiful. Exactly. And so the open glass brought the outside in.
Yes.
And I actually used a designer whose company was called Outside In. Really thank Daryl and his wife for helping me in the design of this place, which has become a wonderful hub for health and wellness and togetherness, community. We now have a cafe. We have a lot of different offerings, services, and we have a market, conscious market, I call it. We sell books, accessories, stones, aromatherapies, essential oils, all that nice stuff.
Sand therapy, which I've tried.
Yeah.
By the way, it's a great facility for everyone in Hernando County and in the nearby areas. Please come and visit. But it's interesting how you said the designer, or the design company was called Outside In.
Outside
and yet
In.
A lot of the healing is inside out.
Yes.
Because you have to harness the energies which are always in the, body as they are in the atmosphere in the universe. So tell us a little bit about your farming experiments. I believe you had a farm, but now you've brought all of that to Ohm.
Yes. So in order to really build a community garden at Ohm, and we only have so much space, and we're trying to logistically put a garden together where we can grow a lot of things. It was that we had a garden originally. I had a garden in another location where we were growing crops in the organic concept. Okay, so that was working out well, but then again, I wanted more than that. So the Ohm Center was being constructed. The garden that we had was literally transferred over to the Ohm Center. It's a little smaller scale, but nonetheless involving community members who can come together and grow together, right? So having crops grow with organic concepts, using natural materials, no junk on the soil. Um, we have established this nice little setup with raised beds, and that's very helpful for everybody who doesn't like to bend over and or go on their knees or break their back, you know. So that works nicely. So we have the community garden, and we also have it so that people can grow their own things if they want to have their own little personal space. We have these little beds that they, you know, they can use and grow because they have trouble growing it in their own home
Actually,
spaces.
yes.
So grow it at Ohm, and so our garden is called Ohm Grown.
I love that.
Ohm Grown Garden, and people learn. We have the lovely tutelage of Michael, who comes. He's with us all the time, and he
Mr.
comes
Green
in.
Thumb.
Yes, and he teaches the folks who want to come, who want to learn more about these organic concepts and using earthworm teas and turning the soil in the proper way and how to water the soil the proper way. You know, we have wonderful systems with our tubings and hydroponics and whatever. I mean, we have different things there going on, and so people learn, and they take that home with them, and they probably do better things at home once they learn some of the better techniques.
So
So I
that
have a talent.
homegrown becomes homegrown eventually.
Homegrown. Right,
Eventually.
right. We like to play on words. We like to play
Absolutely.
with
but
words.
but I like the the transition, because eventually, I mean, I was over at Palo Alto and I was taken to the home of Steve Jobs,
Yeah.
and he was diagnosed with cancer, and he realized a lot of it came from the junk, as you call it, that was on the food. The food is irradiated with all kinds of things. So he bought the plots nearby and started growing his own buckwheat so that he could heal and recover. And in some of his last videos, he said that, I don't know whether I can cure my cancer, but I feel so much better. So I guess reestablishing our relationship with Mother Earth, with the soil, with the source of our actual energy, and, naturopathy is also about the other elements, of course, but
Yes.
I think modernity has created this wedge, it has created this disjunction, alienation of the human from the natural world. And I think that Welcome Home is trying to restore the link.
Yeah, and you mentioned before the outside in and inside out concept. And what I try to teach folks, which is, I think, a message coming from all of us who are in tune with how the environment inside and outside are so much in concert. I mean, it's not really inside outside. It's truly just one, one place, if you will, one space, and we're not separate from the outside, so to speak, outside the skin. Again, we use labels and we use language to try to, to delineate everything, and it's really one whole. So
Yes, from the quantum point of view, it's just an energy field. Separate
Yeah.
bodies, separate objects. They have, should we say, they're partially true. We can't say I'm the same as the table, literally. But yes, in a deeper sense, we are all interchangeable in terms of our energy particles. Now we're getting into an abstract realm. So let
yeah,
me
you got to watch out when you say the word quantum. That's
that has, as I said, it also takes us into all kinds of other areas. But coming back, now, can you sort of tell us a little more about the food banks that you run right here in the community? I believe there is 3 of them, and they're all functional.
Yeah, so we have 3 locations. They're open, I guess, at different times. Where there are many families. There are hundreds of families who need help, and so we help these families with foods that are are where they can pick up they can pick up and take with them. And this has been ongoing now for some time, and we help feed hundreds of families, which is really important. It's terrible. It's terrible that the basics of life cannot be met in this country, or in India, like say,
Well,
talk about India.
Yes, in India also you have a program mostly for women and children, isn't it?
Yes.
And you make them independent, you've given them, opportunities to become self-sufficient. Can you
Right.
tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, so there's some upskilling in India, where there are people who are teaching and facilitating the growth of these children and women who are creating and crafting, different pieces, clothing and or utensils, articles, things that are useful, which we take a lot of these things back here in Florida, and we sell them, and the monies go to this cause, for these women to be able to do and for themselves and to help raise their children. Many women who have just they're single parenting, and or who have limited resources. We just like to have them fed and paid, and to have the comforts of life, basic comforts of life. It's a tragedy to see that happening anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. We would like to see this all over the place, all over the world. And here, however we can help with the food pantry, because we have people who are going hungry and have very limited resources and so forth. And why all this? That's a whole nother subject.
But I believe you have a special interest in the welfare and well-being of children. I think there's a foundation called Veritas, which is devoted to, as it were, looking after the children, because the children are the future of the world.
Absolutely.
And we have to bring them up right, and they have to be more conscious. For that they need a very supportive and loving environment, whereas what we see around us sometimes are very stressful situations.
Absolutely, yeah. So, we will do everything we can. We have, people, again, facilitators, people who are helping these children, particularly in India, where, they can grow, they can learn and grow and thrive and, be very productive in their lives ahead of them. So, yeah, there's definitely a need, and we have to assist them.
I believe this is, of course, not the first award you won. Can you tell us about some of the earlier recognitions? I believe you have a center with the Marines and with veterans, and I believe there was an award given by a 4-star general for some of the work that Access Healthcare Physicians did in the area.
Yes, we were helping the veterans of war, and to support them and all of their need. It's important that we recognize those veterans as well, men and women, who have given their lives, who have sacrificed so much. Yes, we have also given the funds to them, raised funds for them.
Raised funds and a space. I believe they still occupy.
And they have a space, yes, that we've helped put together, yes.
What are your dreams? What are your, should I say, your aspirations in terms of, how Access Healthcare Physicians as well as Wellcome Home, which are so important to this community, which is still underserved, I'm told, in terms of the national averages. What are your, plans, your goals, your vision in terms of giving back? I know that you had, some remarkable activities, on the premises of Home. For example, Awaken Florida, and the Earth Day, which is very, very popular. So,
Yep.
what is the vision? What is the purpose behind these activities, which are not conventionally, medicine related? But when you say you want to awaken or be conscious, what do you mean by that?
Um, there's a lot of sleep going on, if you will. There are people who just don't understand or are not connected to what nature is and what it means, or what their health means. And so we have these events to really bring to light the problems that are going on every day. The destruction of the environment is going on every day, thanks to industries that are, profiting from all of these natural surroundings. I mean, they're taking them and they're taking them down. They're taking all of these natural resources and turning them upside down instead of really nurturing them. We have bee populations and butterfly populations and fish populations and birds and so on and so forth. The entire environment, they are all going down. They're all becoming virtually extinct. For some, there have been, some species, they're gone. They're gone. We want to keep them here. Without bees, we won't exist. And so we want to bring that to light. Having the monks here at our center. We've had the Tibetan monks who came to show and explain and demonstrate how, preservation of life is so important, and how, over in Tibet and which is all out in the eastern part of the world, they struggle, and they're looking to preserve life there, and anywhere, just bringing that to light for anywhere in this world. But here in this country, we are destroying a lot of our natural resources for the sake of advancement, so-called advancement. And I don't see us advancing if we're going to destroy our resources. We need to nurture them. We need to keep the soils clean. We need to keep our air and water, all of our natural resources intact, not to be dumped upon, not to be electrified to the extent that it's killing our bees, our insects, plants, our lives, all of us. All of us are very vulnerable. So, we talk about these things at these events, how to avoid plastics and to reduce the plastic consumption that's absolutely destroying us. These industries, they must become more conscious as far as I'm concerned. But we have to teach people now who are up and coming, growing up, to not do what the others are doing, not to do as the predecessors. Learn from their mistakes and let's do it better. Let's stop ruining the environment. Let's do the right thing for it. Let's be greener in the right way. Governing bodies, they need to be
More conscious as
more
well.
conscious. Everyone. So we're trying to get this message out. We're teaching people at these events, Earth Day and our Be Conscious Day. Awaken Florida was, again, just to bring people together in harmony and to enjoy, for enjoyment purposes, but to teach them. And we had authors and, people like yourself, who's an author, writer, professor, having people who are well-educated and conscious extend this message, keep bringing this forward, So I need help from every angle to get the message out, because it's not just me, and I'm just a, one little person, trying to get other people together so that we can collectively get the best messages out, and that is be more conscious of everything you're doing, and let's preserve life.
Exactly. I think this is a very apt message because the 5th of June is the World Environment Day, as declared by the United Nations. Of course, they started way back in 72 with the Stockholm Summit. They understood what climate change was going to do to the Earth. So it's almost 50 years now, and we're still struggling, as you know, on all fronts. Now, to come back to some of these events and activities, I think that what makes some of these initiatives very special is the role of beauty, the role of harmony, as you said, aesthetics, poetry, music. And I know that when I came, you mentioned that the Tibetan monks, I also attended a couple of the sessions. They chanted and they created a beautiful mandala. So, what is the role of the arts in all of this? Because we tend to think about healing as a science, based on, clinical trials and, triple blind, you know,
Randomized controlled
randomized controlled
trials.
trials, and then et cetera, and trying to find that magic molecule, that'll counteract against that disease-causing whatever pathogen or whatever it is. But obviously, your approach is slightly different. So, what is this more integrative, broader, closer to nature type of approach that you are advocating?
Well, when I'm looking at how medical training, so-called medical profession training, has been for the longest time, at least in the past 100 years, I realize it's lacking. It is lacking, and or it is dismissing the natural aspect of the human being. Okay, it's almost like we're not quite natural in the medical world. It's like we're machines, more machine-like, with parts and pieces. Okay, there's a problem there. I see that problem. I've been seeing that problem. We are not just parts and pieces. We are, we're beings that have a magnificent strength and power, and we're made up of unbelievable substance, which is really a combination of different frequencies, again, quantum. But we are not to be looked upon or to be treated as parts and pieces, in my view, in my world. And again, I don't like to say my world. It's in our world.
Yes, exactly.
So the recognition that there are so many elements in a human life, all these different channels. Again, I'm going to go back to the frequencies. These different channels that we're on. We're on like different stations. We can communicate with everything, everywhere. I mean, you can be healing someone across the world.
Just by your energy, your positive energy.
That's right. So I've come to that understanding. Again, that's something I recognize, I accept as, as truly the way to go, the way to help.
They used to call it the butterfly effect. That a butterfly can cause a hurricane somewhere. That was just a metaphor, but
exactly
talks about how deeply integrated we are without even properly knowing it.
Exactly. So this whole world is really all interconnected. There's no doubt about it, and the ability to impact each other just by being in each other's presence. Like you can be in a room and you may not hear anything, but you can feel that somebody's there in the room with you. That sensory perception, it's inexplicable by conventional means. You
exactly.
don't
That's
know
why they
how
call
to
it extrasensory, because
Yeah.
they've limited our sensory
Yeah.
capacities, just to the physical, just to the five senses, which really brings us to a very interesting juncture. We've talked about this earlier, but there are energies all around us, the earth, the animals,
Mm.
and the ancient people of the world. They recognized this. They were in touch with these elements. They had totems, and we see hawks in our lake in the woods. We see the deer. I believe we are on sacred ground. Homosassa, Hernando County, all of these were very sacred grounds with lakes and caves. And I would like your view on this and how can we reconnect with them? Because I think that Om wants to do that because those healing energies, those life springs, as it were, are right there underneath our feet. The rivers, the lakes, the animals.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. So if we could just take down all the technology, take it all away, and let things be natural. Unfortunately, technology has encroached upon everything. It's totally pervasive, and I would like if we can back off of all of that, and bring back good old wiring.
This I must push back a little bit, but let me preface it by saying that outside of Bangalore, I became a part of a community of people. It was called Navadarshanam, which means the new vision.
Right.
And we discovered something. I must say that it failed, but that's the nature of experiments. But we wanted to grow our own food. We got off the grid. We started producing our own electricity. We had plenty of water on the land.
Uh-huh.
And the idea was to live off the land in a very simple way. And what happened is one of the great things we discovered is that we put up these electric fences so that the grazing and the goats and the cows of the neighboring farmers didn't come into the land, and the elephants too. And we found that in 10 years or 20 years, 15 years actually, the land had regenerated itself. So this is a big lesson, what you just mentioned. You leave nature alone, she takes care of herself. But here's the other side to it, which is that ultimately the experiment in a way failed because the city kept encroaching more and more. It encircled us.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go into all the different things that happened, but when I said I'll push back a bit, the point is we can't be Luddites. We can't, like the Amish or the Amish, however you pronounce them.
Amish.
Amish. You can't sort of withdraw from this world. It is technology dominant, technology dependent.
Yeah.
So here's where Gandhi comes in. We have to develop new technologies,
Yes.
new ways, new
Yes.
ways of thinking, new idioms of expression, because we can unplug once in a while. We do it when we go off somewhere. We don't have phones, we don't have our laptops, and it's crazy because we're so addicted to it. Whoever's done the detox, the digital detox, knows that these addictions are as severe
Yeah.
as the addictions, maybe even for tobacco or heroin. You have withdrawal symptoms, your mind is going crazy. But here's the thing that, I don't know if you agree that we can't deplug completely. So don't you think that, as you said, going back to wiring, getting out of wireless, is not practical? So what is the way forward? We can't be, as I said, anti-technology because, I'm a bit of a, historian of ideas, etc. And I found that in the last 200 years, whoever went against technology failed. There's nobody who succeeded.
Right.
Whether, I don't want to go into names, but eventually we'll have to modify the nature of technology itself, as in a way Heidegger suggested, and before him, there were others who made these suggestions that we have to re-enchant technology. We have to create a new kind of technology.
No, I agree. We do. It has to be using reasonable and tolerable energies, frequencies, because the frequencies, the higher frequencies, or the higher we go with these generations of wireless technology, we're impacting the environment quite a bit. And so there has to be some modification in that. We cannot put too much. I think that, just growing more trees, not building more
Buildings.
buildings. I mean, buildings, we need only so many, but we really cannot keep, knocking down our plants, our trees. These tremendous trees are just, they're giving so much to us. They're giving us everything. They're giving home and shelter and food to so many living creatures. So growing more trees, growing more plants, gardens everywhere. People just need to grow. We don't need more buildings and more, I don't know if I should say more roadways. We need, and more natural things in terms of that building, because everything, asphalt is really, I mean, this is petroleum. This is dangerous stuff, really, for our environment. And, if we can have different ways, materials, more natural materials to build the roads and so forth, and to have more places of education where, all of this can be cultivated. So, teaching people skill. We have so many professional schools, or everybody's becoming an IT person. They're either, if you're not a doctor, you're an IT person, an engineer. We need more people who have skills in terms of labor and in terms of how to use the best materials. And so we have to come up with good nature-respecting materials. And again, the whole plastic industry, I don't have to tell you how it has devastated our environment. So now we've internalized so much plastic that we're finding our bodies, every part is full of plastics. And I'm trying to make it so that our center and hopefully access healthcare could be plastic free. I mean, we really have to start focusing on these things because it's a very big problem, to say the least. I mean, I'm just touching upon it. It really is a big problem.
For sure, for sure. Anyhow, I believe that the carrying capacity of the earth, though it's been stretched, there may be some good news. Human populations are declining. We are told that birth rates in most parts of the world are declining. So maybe in 50 or 100 years, there'll be less people, because ultimately it's the human beings who are, in a sense, the most, should I say, violative of our environment. But exploitative, violative, whatever words you want to use, destructive even.
Right.
And there are people who are going to colonize space now. They want to move human beings to other planets. But we've gone a little distance from conventional notions of philanthropy. But I guess that if we really love our kind, which is humankind, we need to learn to be more humane. And it's not just by conventional charity, which is, of course, very important, but it is through learning, through sharing, through recognizing the interconnectedness of things, awakening our own energies for the benefit of the collective, rather than, being hyper-individualistic and so forth, which, shows the way to a better future for all of us. So it's been such a joy talking to you. Congratulations once more on the award, and I hope there are many more to come. But even more importantly, I hope more people come to Welcome Home. It belongs to the community. Everyone is welcome to come in and check out the grounds and see what is available, and to learn and to be more conscious. Any last thoughts on this subject of your vision, or, for the future and for philanthropic activities in particular for our community here?
I consider myself an instrument I don't even consider myself that's, just, it's a designation that we're so used to doing. We use these pronouns, I. I am here as an instrument to help in the world, to help people grow and understand, and really know their lives, know what life is, help them find themselves, and help them respect themselves and each other, the world around, and I don't expect any awards for any of it, and just I'm here for the sake of life.
Thank you. I can endorse that, and we wish you every success going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Makran.